Take me for a ride before we leave. Avalanche falling fast, a driving winds having stands off the track.
Pearl Jam are one of the most successful American rock bands ever. They are a rock slash grunge band from Seattle. They were formed in 1990, and they had quite a turnover of drummers until their most recent drummer, who joined in 1998, and they've managed to stick with him since then. And the rest of the band have been totally constant. They have sold lots and lots of records over the years. They started rock, they went grunge, then they went back to rock, and they have released, at the point I'm recording this, 12 studio albums. Their most recent is this year, as I'm recording, which is 2024. Hi, my name's Dan. So this still is, the fourth album by Pearl Jam. It's my first time listening to it that I know of. I'm pretty sure that'll be true. And I would quite happily describe this as being rock of various kinds. So it's got quite a variety going on here. So sometimes it feels more garagey, which I mean it's kind of loose and it feels a bit lo-fi. Sometimes it's kind of mildly grungy. Sometimes it's kind of more gentle and ballady. Sometimes it's quite heavy. Occasionally there were times where I kind of, oh, this reminds me of something else. I mean, this is the case with music often, but it is diverse. Musically, I enjoyed it, but the diversity I felt was it was diverse enough that was a detriment to my mind. Right, so I'm just going to dig into this thought for a couple of seconds. So sometimes I might complain about albums if they're too samey, if it's basically got one sound and that's it, or one kind of musical idea. This seems to be becoming more and more the thing these days, although it's always been a thing. Sometimes the other end of the spectrum is that they're too disjointed and that it just doesn't have a coherency to it as an album. And I never really thought about this before I started doing reviews, but as I've started doing reviews, I've started to think more about the coherence of albums and the art of the album, the kind of the journey that the album takes you through. So I think it's possible to be, for this to be varied depending on the album, the type of album. I think that compilations are often much more on the kind of more disjointed end. And I think this is kind of a bit too disjointed. It's not massively problematically so, I would say, but it does mean that as an album, it has less of an identity in its own right, I would say, than it could do. So apparently the band weren't getting on very well with each other during the recording of this. Maybe that is why it has this feel to it. So there's something about the music here. So I feel like I'm going on a little diversions here quite a bit. There's something about the music in this album that makes me always conscious that it's a band of people playing instruments. Now I know always or almost always when you listen to music, that is what is true. But some music seems to somehow take you beyond that and to make you stop thinking of it as being a bunch of musicians playing instruments. But it gives you it takes you out of that into another experience. So I think a classic example for that is Queen. So Queen music, obviously when you listen to it, you can hear what the instruments are. But when you listening to it and thinking about it, you think more about the song, you think more about the story that it's telling than you do about the actual, notes that somebody's playing on a guitar, except, you might like Brian May's guitar riff at that point. A lot of pop, I think, with the way that it often quite produced, does that as well. It disconnects you from the feeling of it being played, and some of that is because actually it's being programmed rather than played. With this, it doesn't do that to me at all. In fact, it does more of me thinking about a room full of people playing instruments and making me feel like maybe, could I play this? would I enjoy playing this? There's some good playing at times, I would say. And as I was writing these notes, I had the track present tense on, which has an extended instrumental bit at the end, and I really enjoyed that bit. Um, at other times, it feels a bit more ragged. So I just kind of, I think that they're going for different feels and different tracks, but um, yeah. Eddie Vedder as the singer, I have to say, on this album annoyed me a little bit. His voice. I know I reviewed a Pearl Jam album not that long ago and actually liked it. I was surprised at how much I liked it. This I didn't like so much, and some of that was the nature of his voice, which at times can be quite nasal and muttery. Kind of mutters, yeah, a bit like that. Um, but that also was varied because on some tracks it was much less like that. There's there's something about it. I've talked about various aspects of it. There's something about it that I felt it was something troubled about it. It doesn't feel as a confident whole, and maybe it's just because it doesn't feel like a whole. It feels a little bit forced, and it may be that I'm projecting that onto it, knowing that there was trouble in the band as they were recording. Overall, though, I'd say I found it fairly enjoyable, but I would say it's not an immediate. Oh, I must go out and get a copy of this. It was, yeah, it's all right. There were good things, there were bad things. It was a bit mixed, and it was just a bit disparate, I think, overall. So that's what I think. As always, I'd love to know what you think. So there is an easy way for you to let me know what you think, which is just type something into the comments down below. And I think I see most comments. How would I know if I don't see them? Unless somebody tells me, but maybe I wouldn't see them. Oh, stop being philosophical. That's it from me for now.
No man is facing full intent like he's right.